calls Jesus Christ to prophesy in the highways and the hedges and preach the kingdom of heaven coming, and that it is currently at hand right now. And when you look at these events that are happening on the earth, you clearly see it. All right? Things have gotten a lot more wild and chaotic than ever before. All right? And the only way, all right, I'd rather say the only source, all right, you can actually go into to explain what's happening in the world in very vivid detail is the scriptures. All right? You got a precept?
Yep.
Cool. You can bring it out, and then, we're just going to transition like that.
God. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord."
So this is the Lord that's speaking for us. All right, even as Yahweh Shai said, he said, "I shall give you a tongue by which your adversaries, all right, shall neither be able to gainsay nor resist." So when we come out here on the highways and we prophesy, we teach this word, we're not speaking according to our own will. We're not just saying how we feel. We've been commanded to speak these words, and these words come from the heavens. All right? And they're in mortal flesh, regular guys, all right? People that you can scoff against and mock against, because from an outward mortal perspective, it doesn't look like it doesn't have any type of authority from the heavens. And that's why when it comes to the word of the Lord, it's a lot more than the flesh. All right? But you got to take heed to the spirit. And we're coming out of the scriptures. When you go into them churches that's over there and such like that, they just go out there and they just talk and they just talk and they just talk. All right? And that's why it's always some type of scheme or scandal that takes place when you look at them church houses, because they're not driven by the Heavenly Father. And that spirit's even bled into the world of Israel.
Yep. It's a bunch of dry talk, and even amongst Israelite camps.
I can read what you hold next.
Okay, Con, I'm gonna get Isaiah 46 and 8. Okay. Right. Even amongst Israelite camps, all right, if you're spiritual, if you're really reading the scriptures, prophecy is reiterated all throughout the Bible. Like even when the Lord was talking to the disciples, right, and he told them, he said, "Blessed are your eyes, for they see." All right, for they see what? What was he talking about them seeing? They were seeing the fulfillment of Yahushua, the fulfillment of prophecy. And Yahushua basically coming to fulfill the things that the scripture said he was going to fulfill. And then we know later on, Matthew 24, for example, Luke 21, for example, Yahushua goes into even further depth about the things that are going to happen in these times today. So this whole thing is centered around prophecy.
This one is getting set up?
It's called tomorrow.
Okay.
But just and a matter of fact, we can grab Revelation 19 and 10 too.
I got you.
That's a bread and butter scripture. All right, but it tells you what the main idea of this thing is. The main idea of this thing is telling you what's getting ready to happen on the planet Earth.
Right.
That's the key difference.
Did you want to finish up in that 2nd Ezra 15, or that was the point at verse 1?
I'll finish verse 2.
Okay, I'll read it for you. I got to help.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll read it for you, bro.
What?
This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 1. "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord."
Right. It doesn't say tell them what they want to hear. Right. It doesn't say go into all this other stuff.
Right.
Right. We giving relationship advice and this, that, and the third, and weddings. No, man.
Right.
We're concerned with what the will of the Lord is and how we can fit into the will of the Lord.
God. This is verse 2. "And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true."
Right. Cause them to be written in paper. Right. Now, in the ancient world, you had, actual scrolls.
Right.
And things of that nature that were that the scribes were writing on. Right. I want to say the word paper goes back to the papyrus plant. That's where you get the word paper from.
But Paul as well. Paul.
But now, fast forward to these times today, what do we have? We have these virtual epistles, the lessons, the edification going out via the internet, via YouTube.
That's right. Hey, even the Apostle Paul said that our epistles are written without ink. Because it's even how we live. Our lifestyles are written epistles.
Done. Yep.
Yeah, because the epistles are exhortations, admonitions, corrections, rebuke,
That's right.
correction, so on and so forth. Edification, hope,
That's right.
Charity. I mean, it encompasses a whole lot.
Done.
That's right.
Yep.
This is verse 3. It says, fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee.
Right, because the Lord doesn't just tell you what's going to happen, right? We know we got to go through the straight gate. We know, all right, we're in Jacob's trouble. Things are getting ready to escalate. We know destruction is coming to this place, but comfort is also embedded in the scriptures too. You know, the understanding and the hope that comes with, this truth.
That's right. That's right. If you approach what's getting ready to come with a mortal mindset, you're going to lose. You know, that's why it says, don't let the incredulity, which that word incredulity means, pretty much faithlessness. Those that lack faith. Yeah. Don't worry about the imaginations of them that come up against you, because once your mind is set on that, then you've lost trust in the Lord and the promises that he already made. Because in the prior verse it said already, these words are faithful and true. And what embodies that? No weapon formed against thee shall prosper. I am with you, lo, even always to the ends of the earth. These are things that we have to continue to pretty much keep, but we got to pray that the Lord keeps this in our spirit. That way, whenever hell does break loose, we're going to be sustained. Because we already know that dangers are coming. Evil times are coming. The scriptures tells you a day that's coming is not going to be like any other day. So it's about practicing as we're here every day, that immortal mindset, putting off corruption as you read that in 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter. And there are many other examples that go into that,
I got one real quick.
Kind of possible.
This is Isaiah 33:6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. At the end of the day, like I did a lesson on this years ago. It said salvation is easy, because all you have to do is believe. But the problem is, you have to be a part of the elect.
That's right.
And that's the deciding factor, which keeps you humble. Because if not, we don't know who the elect is. That's why we say we're hopeful elect. We're doing what the elect is doing. It says give diligence to make it call to the election sure. And if we continue, if we're doing to the end, as Yahushua said, we're going to receive the prize.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You got something?
None. This is First Maccabees chapter 12, verse 9. It says, therefore we also, albeit we need none of these things, that we have the holy books of the scriptures in our hands to comfort us.
Yeah.
Okay, so this whole world, we don't need it. All right, we just need the law, statutes, and commandments that Yahweh Shem Shai sent down upon the earth to comfort us to get through these wicked days.
I got something to back you up, bro. That's beautiful. So segue into this beautiful.
Okay.
2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6 and 7. It says, seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you, and to you who are troubled, rest with us. When the Lord Yahweh shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels in flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not the Most High, and that obey not the gospel of our Lord Yahweh Shah Mashiach. And that's the thing ultimately, man. Like the trouble that's coming is sent to take over the entire planet Earth, man, and to reach out and touch all the inhabitants of the earth, even the elect. But the rest, if you're looking for rest to come by the means of leaning upon Esau, you're wrong. It's gonna fail you, right? If you're looking for rest to come by the means of leaning on your financial gain, you're wrong. You're gonna lose, right? But the only true rest is going to come by leaning upon Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, because he's going to be the one that's going to be able to be a hedge of protection and to deliver you in the coming times, man.
I got one. Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things are written aforetime are written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Yep. Like you were saying, this is pretty much the comfort. This is the anchor that the world doesn't have. See, terrible times are coming. It's going to affect everybody, including us. But the difference is we have an anchor, something to lean on. Lean on me.
That's right. That's right. That trust. Yep. Just a quick precept too. This is Isaiah 36:6. Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. Yep. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him.
Yep. You mind reading that again, Baba Chef?
Absolutely.
Yep. Beautiful.
Back in Isaiah 36:6, it says, lo, thou trusteth in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt.
Right. Our people have a tendency to rely upon Esau. Yep. You know, the so-called self-proclaimed white man. All right, and even back then, you know, Jake had a certain dependency on Egypt. All right, when times got tough. Right. You know, Egypt had particular communities like Alexandria, all right, and things of that nature that had large amounts, you know, of Israelites. You know, even going back to our history in the Exodus, you know, our people were comfortable and familiar with Egypt.
It was a safe haven.
A safe haven. You know, which is why when you read like Exodus 14, for example, when times got tough, when adversity presented itself, the first thing they wanted to do was go right back into Egypt.
Right back to Egypt.
So that pattern of behavior we're still seeing all the way to this day.
And you know, and the crazy thing is, that's pretty much what these major cities are. They're safe havens. You know, so when all hell breaks loose and you got to flee, everybody's gonna want to come back to this. You know, to be able to, you know, have things go back to how it was. You go to your Subways and your Chick-fil-A's and your KFC's and your Red Zeppelins and your Saladas and your Salad to Go and, you know, all that other shit, you know, Starbucks. But it ain't gonna be like that.
Yeah, there's already a lot of changes taking place right now. It was a video that I watched yesterday. Brother posted it, but pretty much all the main restaurants, like the which we don't stuff we don't eat, but still like stuff, safe haven stuff.
Yeah.
Papa John's, Domino's, Denny's. They're closing like 300 plus, 600 plus locations, and that was just a few that I just named. So those comforts are being stripped away.
And remember the movie Demolition Man? There was only one chain that survived. All of the food
Was it
chains.
Taco Bell? That's right, I remember that. I saw it too. It was Taco Bell.
That's it.
Taco Bell.
That's right. But it's a spirit because, you know, I even titled it on my camera. Pretty much there's mass uncomfort that's getting ready to hit the earth right now. You know, and these people, the Lord allowed Esau to set up certain laws, and certain of those laws they think benefit them, but ultimately it's for their demise. Just use an example we was talking about on the way up here, and then you got it. You know, but pretty much these YNs, you know, it's like these open carry laws and such that's out here, and now these YNs are carrying and such, not knowing that they're being scopeoed and everything, prepared to be sent right over there overseas to fight this battle. You know, so all that freedom and comfort that they had on this side is really about to bite them in the ass. You know, because they're being categorized at this moment. And that's just one group out of many groups that are being categorized right now. You know, so this devil is using your comfort right now, and it's kind of like, you know, seeing how you move with it to put you in a very uncomfortable situation and seeing what you do. You know, and you're going to fail.
That's the age range from 18 to 26.
That's right. That's right.
That's beautiful. Draft is coming, man.
Draft is coming.
For you men and for you women, man. Can we finish that, Isaiah?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is back in Isaiah 36, continuing on in verse 6. It says, whereon if a man lean, talking about the broken reed in Egypt, it will go into his hand and pierce it.
Right. So if you trust in this setup, this system,
Right.
it's ultimately going to lead you to the MOTB. It's going to lead you to the chip, man.
That's it. And you notice a staff is used for what? For walking.
That's right.
To lean on it. But then if it's broken and it got jagged edge on the top, you trying to lean on it, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Man, that's right.
You know? So the Lord is saying, look, this system is broken.
Absolutely.
You know, like in Isaiah 14, it said the Lord has broken the staff of the wicked. You know, and the scepter of the rulers. So the system is already broken. That's why you see it, you know, unraveling, falling apart. So I got one. You finished with that?
No, it's all you, Apostle.
Can I go back to shot?
You got it. You got
So
it.
lay him back.
Gone.
This is Isaiah 10
Let's
and
go,
20.
champ.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, which are the elect, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, which is Esau,
Right.
but shall stay upon the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the Holy One of Israel, in truth.
Gone. Yep.
Because the truth is what's really going to be the main anchor, the main weapon, you know, to fight in this war that's coming.
Beautiful. Yep. It's a great precept. And that links, actually, that kind of takes me to the Isaiah 55. We'll still get that.
Gone.
Right? Because as we going into, you guys are trusting individuals outside of this truth, and you know, even certain remnants of us still, because everything is normal still, right? You can still get in your car, you can still drive downtown, you can still go run errands, right? So even on a carnal level, there's a certain shock and awe that's going to happen when all of this goes away. But that's why it was so important during this time to be eating, so to speak, to be nourishing yourself up in this truth.
Right. That's right.
You know?
The apostle just read it, Isaiah 33 and 6.
Right.
You know, knowledge and wisdom shall keep thy stable in the times, and the fear of the Lord is going to be a treasure.
Yeah.
You know, and we saw the example 2020, 2021 when they tried to force that stab and jab just as a precursor that was getting ready to come. Brothers didn't fold, man. You know, so it's going to get a lot more extreme. But the Lord, if the Lord got you sustained, you're going to be sustained. Isaiah 55 for you, whenever you're ready.
You got to work.
This Isaiah 55 and 1. Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye, buy and eat.
Right, the poor, the needy, right, which is mainly, this is talking about you Israelites.
Right.
All right, because pursuant to the curses, right, you go to Deuteronomy 28, you read the long list of curses. All right, that's letting you know why you're in the state that you're in. And then not only that, but the Lord outlines specific things to look for, token signs in the cursed Israelites, man.
That's right.
You know, that's primarily how we identified ourselves. You know, so you're the ones that are lacking, you're the ones that are thirsty, you're the ones that are hungry, you know, going to your enemy for the one of all things. That's talking about you, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans.
God, that's right. It's like, just to add to you, if I may, here real quick. You know, namely, that's even going into the elect. Because when you look at it, it says, come. 2/3 ain't gonna come. You know what I'm saying? The scripture says, you shall hear a word behind me saying, well, this is the way, walk ye in it. And it's only those that are initiated that are going to actually turn around and hear that voice and do it. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, the elect, or the hopeful elect, are prisoners of hope at the end of the day. You know, so there's an expectation that's there. The rest of the world of Israel, they don't have that same hope. They don't have that expectation. That's why they're going to trust in this system, even though it's clearly failing and dwindling down, but they're still going to put their trust in it because they've been programmed to. Just to add, this is back in Isaiah 55 and 1. It says, buy wine and milk without money and without price. Wherefore do ye spend money for that which is not bread?
Yep, and that's talking about, again, it's giving you, it's likening this truth unto these various different things that you eat, that you digest. You know, like wine, for example. I want to say it's either Proverbs 8 or Proverbs 9 where it talks about wisdom hath killed her beast. Proverbs 9. You know, and can we get that real quick? Matter of fact? You know, because basically the Lord, again, this is the prepping. Like, you got people prepping, right? You got people stockpiling food. You got people buying all these contraptions and things of that nature, prepping for what's coming. But guess what? That's not gonna profit you, man.
That's it.
Israelite bug out bags.
Yeah, bug out bags.
Hey, you know, the scripture say that all tables are full of vomit. That's all that vomit, all that extra shit.
Yeah.
You don't need all that extra.
I got that for you. Proverbs 9 and 1, it says, wisdom hath builded her house.
And wisdom is the fear of the Lord. All right, I want to say Job 28 and 28 outlines that. Wisdom is the fear of the Lord, and the depart from evil is understanding. Right? So you can't even embark on the path of wisdom without first fearing the Lord. You got it.
Proverbs 9 and 1 again, it says, wisdom hath builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars.
And the fear of the Lord is a powerful thing, man. And if you want to, just look at Noah. All right, the fear of the Lord is what allowed Noah to survive the worst event in human history. You know, when only 8 souls survived. You know?
What do they, if I may, bro, what do they talk about? Like a Category 5 hurricane, and
Right.
a Category 6 tornado, like all these different, they try to categorize. You can't categorize a flood that takes place on the whole earth
Right.
and displaces the land.
Well, that's what ELE, extinction level event, extinction level event.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty much, you know, the destruction.
Right. Yep.
Back in Proverbs 9 and 1 again, it says, wisdom hath builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars. She hath killed her beast. She hath mingled her wine. She hath also furnished her table.
Right, so a feast is being prepared. All right, or in other words, all the things that you need to make it through these times, the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, the Lord has prepared it all already. We're coming into it through the Spirit. You know, and that's going to be, right, because the whole point of food is to help you rebuild your body, to re-nourish yourself, so to speak. You know what I mean? Which is not what you're getting with anything else. You're not getting it with literal food. You're not getting it with any other ideology or philosophy. You're only getting it with this truth, man.
Well, it says, I will give you passages according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Yeah.
God, also in Deuteronomy the 8th chapter, it says, man shall not live off bread alone, but the word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Father. You know, so this is the true bread, you know?
Yeah, because you got to be nourished spiritually and physically.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah, there's a little more on this. Proverbs 9:3, it says, she hath set forth her maidens. She crieth upon the highest places of the city.
That's the prophets.
Whoso is simple, I'll read that again. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, come, eat of my bread, and drink of the wine which I have mingled.
Yep. It says, whoso is simple. All right. And again, like the priest said, this is really going into the remnant and the elect returning unto the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because really, if you looking at this situation with an honest, with a sober-minded, honest perspective, this truth is really the only thing that makes sense. You know, when you look at what's happening over there in the Middle East, and Esau basically continuing to impose his will, all right, on all these other nations. Habakkuk 2 outlines that, right? You know, continue to conquer land, to continue to steal resources, you know, to the point to where he wants to put an actual a chip in you. He wants you to be a resource, man, forever. So this truth is the only thing that actually makes sense. Deliverance from Yahweh Shem Yahushua.
Yeah, because that's the only stronghold. While all the other strongholds are being broken down, this is being built up. And the Lord said, I will set them in order before thine eyes. So people are seeing it, but people ain't running to it because the desperation hasn't set in yet. But when it sets in, then they're going to be seeking to hold on to the spirit of one that's called the Jews, saying, you know, we're going to come with you, or something along those lines.
Yes, sir.
You know?
If I may, that was the point, but if I may add, because it says, you know, it mentions the simple, it says, whoso is simple. You know, and that lets you know, because Proverbs, the first chapter, goes into the simple in a bad way, in a negative sense, right? But this is going into the simple in a good sense. You know, Yahweh Shai even said, how's the phrase?
Simplicity in Mashiach.
Simplicity in the Mashiach. Yep. You know, his burden is light, his yoke is easy to bear. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, Apostle, it's a simple thing. It's easy, but you know, a lot of people, they get tripped up by the you know, the steps that are necessary to be, you know, within it. You know what I'm saying?
Just to add, he did the hard point, you know, he laid the foundation, you know, so we're just adding to a foundation and pretty much a blueprint that's already been laid. So he did the hard part. He sacrificed his blood for us. You know what I'm saying? So we're just adding to whatever he already started to build.
Yeah,
you know?
see, these people, they still have something to run to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the system is still operational. And once the system is not operational, where you going to turn to? The
Right.
government?
Right.
What happened during Hurricane Katrina? With B-Man, right?
Exactly.
Ooh.
Exactly.
I got a precept according to what y'all talking about. How Yahweh Shem Shai is our comfort. This is Wisdom of Solomon 1:1. It says, "Love righteousness, ye that be judges of the earth." It says, "Think of Yahweh Shem Shai with a good heart, and in simplicity of heart seek Him." All right. So in that simplicity, you know, on the left hand is calling on Esau Edom. But on the right hand, we're calling on Yahweh Shem Shai to give us patience and faith of mind.
That's right, brother. The scriptures also liken us unto babes, newborn babes. You know, and a babe is a simple, you know, creature. All right, it's going to rely on the guidance and the direction and the substance of their father or their mother. You know.
They know nothing else. You know, they're babies. I assume that's why I always said that unless you come as a child, you cannot enter into the kingdom.
That's right.
You know, their intentions are pure.
This is back in Isaiah 55:2. And it reads, "Wherefore do ye spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness."
Right. So, can we read that again one more time, Brother Chip?
Con, wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not.
Right. So you're spending all your time, all your energy, all your effort on things that are not actually going to profit you.
Right. There you go.
You know, you spending most of your day, all right, following vain opinions on the internet, or you're spending most of your day, grabbing onto the tailcoat of your wife,
Or going to work.
or going to work. Whatever hustle and bustle, whatever vice, you're subject to that, and you're just feeding that. You're consuming that. You know.
And that takes up your whole life. So
That was it.
It says, hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good.
Yep, hearken diligently. You know, it's saying I'm tempted to find that word diligently. All right, we brought out the precept earlier. Give diligence to make your calling and election sure. All right, meaning that basically, this is a non-stop. This is an everyday, 24/7. You know what I mean? We in the flesh, but you can't miss a meal. You gotta constantly be seeking Yahweh Shem Yahushua.
That's right. That's why Yahweh Shah commanded the Apostle Peter, which he also commanded us too, to feed the sheep. You know, when you look at the way it's worded, you know, it says to hearken diligently and then eat. So that's how you eat. You listen to this word. You take heed to the word. That's what nourishes your soul. You know, that's why we're distributing this word and bringing it out, and people are eating it when they hear it. You know?
And then you're eating yourself. Because,
Yep.
you know, while you're doing that, you know, precepts that you may not have thought about in a while come to
Absolutely.
mind. You know, and that's also a part of study. Like you see, like the Apostle, Elder Apostle Harbo, or Elder Apostle Gabar, you know, like different elders and bishops, they'll go during the lesson, and then they'll start asking questions, looking for certain scriptures, you know, and that's all a way of teaching how to study. It's awesome.
Just going to your point, like that brother that did that video on reading and studying.
Yeah.
You know, he broke it down as a quick read. You can read it,
Yeah.
you know, quick. All right, but whenever you take it to digest it, all right, especially in your mind's eye, you know, like the word in Spanish is comida.
Yeah.
Comida means food for thought. Okay, so as you're reading, it's food for you. It's food for everybody that hears you. You know, it's like
Well, that's why the Apostle Paul said that the Lord set up in the churches prophets, apostles, you know, teachers for the edification of the church. And the word edification means to build.
Yep.
You know, you can't build if you're not eating.
That's right.
You know, you can go to the gym all you want, but if you ain't eating and replenishing, you're gonna drop dead.
Absolutely. That's a solid point. Solid perspective.
I had a quick one. This is Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 34. All right, it says, going into that diligence, it says, blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors. You know, and the key word in that is daily. You know, this is a daily thing. You know, there's not a day that goes by that you shouldn't be seeking. All right, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And when I say that, I really mean, you know, self-examination. You know what I mean? Self-examination, and then being doers of the word. So application. You know, what is that? James 1 and 22. Right? Be ye doers of the word. Hearken and diligently is a good start. Right? That's a good place to start. But ultimately, that hearken and diligently has got to turn into some application.
Yeah. Not hearers of the word, but doers are justified. But I got something for you. This is Revelation 3 and 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. It says, you know, listen to he that waiteth at the post. So behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open his door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me.
Yep.
And when you look up that word sup, it means to share into your most intimate thoughts.
Man.
You know?
Yep.
You gotta go.
Yep. And I want to say, the door is going into your mind.
Yeah.
You know, that's why the scriptures talk about Proverbs 4 and 23, keep thine heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Basically going into pay attention to your mind, protect your mind. You know, because that's the primary thing that Esau is trying to take. He's trying to take your mind, man. He's trying to take your crown. All right, because that's how the Lord sups with you through the Spirit.
Yeah.
This is back in Isaiah 55 and verse 3. And it says, incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. Whew.
It says, come unto me and your soul shall live. All right, showing you that this is a spiritual thing. This ain't talking about a literal, 3-course, 4-course meal. It's just talking about a spiritual meal that's been prepared by the Lord.
Yeah.
And that meal is going to lead to the reviving of your soul.
That's right.
Like when you read Ezekiel 38, for example, prophesying to these dry bones,
Yeah, Con. Yeah, because when you look at it, if you put your trust in anything else, then you what? Sell your soul.
Yep.
You got a lot of these people that'll do crazy things for some type of status or some type of materialistic gain, and it's considered selling your soul. So if you're not pretty much following the Lord and hearkening unto His word, if you're entertaining anything else without trusting the Lord, then you will sell out. So taking heed to the word of the Lord is how you're able to preserve your soul, is what that's saying.
John. Yep. Can we grab? Does brother have anything?
I got something if I may, because could you, so you still holding Isaiah 55? Could you read that verse 1 again?
Yeah, absolutely. Back in Isaiah 55 and 1, oh, everyone that thirsteth, come ye unto the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye and buy and eat. Yea, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price.
Yeah, because the scriptures liken unto the living waters. The word is likened unto living waters. When you think about living waters, what that means is essentially it's constantly flowing, it's constantly moving, it's not stagnant. Like if you leave dirty dishes in the sink with it filled up, and just leave it sitting for a couple of days, shit, you're gonna start getting gnats and shit, bacteria, mold and shit gonna start building up from the stink. Yeah, that's stagnant, right? So I got this real quick. Jeremiah 2. And I'm going to start at verse 11 and read down to 13. It says, hath the nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit. Be ye astonished, O ye heavens, at this, and be horribly afraid. Be ye very desolate, saith the Lord. For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewn them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. So whether it be via religion or whatever worldly ideology that our people want to take hold of, right? That ultimately is not going to profit them at the end of the day, man, because it's not based on the living waters, man. That was it.
All right. See what the Isaiah
I got
46.
something real quick. This is 2 Peter 1 and 8. The Apostle Peter was running down all the virtues, patience, hope, so on and so forth, right? We get to verse 8, 2 Peter 1 and 8. For if these things be in you, and abound, and they increase, they make you that you shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Because remember what the scriptures say. If matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Hebrews, Hebrews 6. Just bear with me 1 second. Hebrews 6, and I believe it's 9, 10, 11, something like that. 8. It says, but that which beareth thorns, meaning an individual that doesn't bear fruit, it bears thorns and briars, meaning you dry, you stagnant, right? Is rejected and is nigh unto cursing, whose end is to be burned. See? So if these virtues are in you and they increase and they abound, as it says in Peter once again, 2 Peter 1 and 8, for if these things be in you and abound, meaning increase, they make you that you shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach.
Yep.
I got it.
Yep. Can we grab real quick, just because that came out, we grab Psalm 1 and 3 real quick? Just 1 and 2, right? Because that's basically showing you the maturity, the process of maturing in the truth. Which is a thing that takes time. That's why the scriptures talk about patience.
Right.
You're not just gonna pop in and then the next day you a full-blown, apricot tree, man. You're gonna go through the process of blooming. You're gonna go through seasons.
It takes a while sometimes. You got to plant the seed.
Yep.
You plant a seed and come back the next day expecting to get some fruit. You bugged out.
That's right.
ugly phase.
Yeah.
You know, it's an ugly phase in between that when you first start and when you're that final finished product.
There you go.
You know?
Absolutely.
I think Bob said, you plant a seed, what happens in that process? It has to terminate, that seed actually has to die. And then that's when it starts to bring forth and new life starts to come. And in turn, it grows into a tree. So, like you said, you come into this thing, you're learning, you get into a village with that old man, and in that process, that old man is dying off. You bring new life into a new person. It goes forth into a new creature.
I got something real quick. I hope I got it. Let's see. It's a lot here. I don't have. I thought I did. It's in. I believe it's in Luke where I wish I said. That the prodigal, that he had to die.
And he was ran perish.
No, it's the one that Yahushua said that unless that fruit died or something like that.
John 12.
Is it John 12?
Yeah,
I thought it was Luke 12.
I'll read it for you.
Yeah, bring it out.
'Cause I was thinking about it actually when the brother was explaining it.
What the Elder Yariala said. He said the seed has to die. So that's what made me think of this scripture to the spirit. You got it.
This is John chapter 12, verse 24. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit.
So Yahushua was explaining to them that he had to die. He had to be crucified in order to build the church. In order for the church to be built and we get that gain, the mustard seed. But they had to go through that process. So when we come into this thing, our outward man dies, but our inner man is renewed day by day. You know?
That happens like in a forest. Whenever that old man dies, it's fertilizer for the new man to abound and grow.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'll see that like certain shit die in the forest, and then they just be absorbed into the ground.
Yeah.
And it pretty much the Lord built the perfect ecosystem.
Absolutely.
But this maniac, that took over the planet when the Lord gave it to him, and he got everything upside down. The course of the world is turned upside down. It's out of course. That's right.
You read that?
Psalms chapter 1. Can I just start at the top?
Top shop.
God. Psalms 1 and 1. It says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly."
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. And we actually started off going into that. We started off going into basically everybody else outside this circle still thinking that America is going to deliver them out of their situation. Thinking that all these ideologies and philosophies that got your ass broke and miserable are going to somehow magically deliver you, right? So here it is, all this shit done broke you down, you mad, you overweight, right? You confused as all hell. But then you think when shit gets hard that this same system is going to deliver you. That's individuals walking in the counsels of the ungodly, man. You got it up.
God. Psalms 1 and 1 again, it says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners."
Right, nor standeth in the way of sinners. And this is the counsel of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right, a big difference. You got it up.
"Nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night."
Right, our delight is in the law of the Lord. And when you go into the law, the beauty of that, when you go into the law, Deuteronomy the 18th chapter, you might have to get it. The law points you to Yahushua. So we delight in Yahushua, man. So we're not, we understand that the law was a schoolmaster, man. The law was to get us to a certain point to where now we're seeking Yahushua. We're seeking the fullness of the scriptures.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we couldn't do it ourselves.
Right.
And it was proven.
Yeah.
Every time Jake, the Lord said, "Don't do this anymore," but Jake would do it more.
Yeah.
So Yahushua had to be the ultimate example.
Yep.
To be able to bring it, because yes, to keep the law. That's why the Apostle Paul said the law was our schoolmaster. When Yahushua came, we're no longer under that schoolmaster, although we still keep the law to the best of our ability. Because if we didn't have to keep the law, then why did Yahweh Shai say to individuals, you have been healed, sin no more, at least something worse come upon you. So that means we still got to keep the law. When the apostles had that meeting, that council, the Jerusalem council, as they call it, and dealing with the circumcision, all right, you didn't have to be circumcised, but they still gave them laws out of the Old Testament that they have to keep. Right. So that's your guide. And then from that point on, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind, and you from there you build up. Y'all got it.
That's right.
Psalms 1 and 3, it says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water.
Right. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. All right. And trees are beautiful. But another thing about trees is typically, if a tree is in the right location, like it's breaking down in this scripture, when a tree is in the right spot, in the right ecosystem, right, it has everything that it needs. Trees can last for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Trees will endure, man. You got it.
God, it says, I'll read it again, Psalms 1 and 3, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth his fruit in his season.
Right, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season, right? Because trees, all right, give their fruit at different times of the year. Not all trees are the same. Going back to what we were talking about, with brothers and their individual walks. You may be producing fruit in a season, another brother may be producing fruit in the season, but the point is, are you rooted in Yahweh Shem Yahushua? Are you still connected to the source? Was it John 15 when the Lord said, "I'm the vine, I'm the true vine"? That's really the question. Are you connected to the true vine, which is Yahweh?
That's right. Yeah, because even a branch, when it's severed from a tree, it may have leaves on it, it may have fruit on it, and that fruit will stay for a little while. It might even bud a little bit, but after a while, it's going to die out because it doesn't have anything to feed it. Yeah.
It says, his leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
Yeah. So you're gonna become prosperous, man. All right, in the spirit. Which really doesn't really have anything to do with carnality or material possessions. That's why when you go into the New Testament, Paul, I want to say it's in Philippians, he went into being content. Knowing how to have things and knowing how to be without things. He was basically prospering in the spirit, despite being in prison, despite catching hell, his external situations. He was still prospering through the spirit of the Lord. And that's how that's the doctrine, that's the mindset that we're looking to follow. Come in.
That's why Revelation, the 2nd chapter, talks about he knows we're in poverty, but we're rich. Rich in the spirit, Rich is synonymous with prosperity. And we saw all those different things, persecutions, catching hell, physical ailments, mental struggles. We're still rich because we're rooted in Hashem Yahushua. The real riches.
Well, that's it. Our justification doesn't come from anything righteous we've done.
Right.
If we make it, it's because we were the elect. Nothing special, just because the elect are going to make it. And the Lord's going to put the spirit in the elect to do the right thing to get to the finish line. He did it. That's it.
Earlier we brought up the precept going into the sure mercies of David. David is an example of that because he had those 3 sins. And then if it was anybody else, who knows what the Lord would have did. But just as David had those sure mercies, the elect gonna have those sure mercies. So like the apostle said, it's not anything that you actually physically do in the flesh that the Lord counts you righteous. It's just if you have the elect or not. Sure means unmovable. So that means that if pretty much you're meant to be saved, you're gonna be saved. And the Lord, no matter what, ain't nothing gonna change about it.
How was that said? There's no possible see the very elect.
That's right.
That shows you that these devils are gonna come with some type of concoction and deception that's going to have the majority of the world deceived. Right. They already got the world deceived, if I got to be hidden into them with a loss, right? But there's going to be a point where even the elect will even be, taken by the miracles and the shit that Esau is doing. But because of that ingredient, is the wok, which is the mark in the Old Testament, they're going to be accepted from judgment. So even though they might be there, they're going to resist. And that with every fiber of their being. Even though they might be hungry, even though they might be uncomfortable, even though they might not want to, they want to give in because of the flesh, but they're going to be constantly fighting.
That's right. That's right.
Back up.
So bring it out.
Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and not of yourselves. It is the gift of the Most High.
You got it.
Not of works, lest any man should boast.
Yeah.
So like Paul said, it's a gift. It's not of our works. Nothing we can do. It's a gift of being chosen from the foundation of the earth, being predestined. And because of that, the elect is not going to be taken by anything that God has to offer or say. So it's all glorification of the power of God.
And that takes away from individuals. Well, I do more works than you, brother. But the Apostle Paul, he said, if anybody, I got the most work. But it's not, it has nothing to do with that. It has something to do with you being the elect or not. But the works are a testimony as to the belief that you have in you that you are the elect. The ability to make that call of election sure.
Yep, not of works, verse 9, not of works, least any man should boast. So for fear of that, so to make sure that no one can boast, it's a gift of the will of the Most High.
So what comes to mind is a lot of these teachers in these other camps that feel like they don't got to go out no more because they've been here a long time and feel like they earned them stripes to not go out. Well, that's a cut to that right there. You're supposed to willfully want to do this, because again, it's not about your works all the way anyway. It's about election. So you shouldn't have the mindset of, I don't got to teach no more. I've done it for a long time. No. You might have a lot more bullshit that got to be scraped up that you've done in the past life. And these sacrifices that you're giving off could help you with that.
They don't want to be out here because it's uncomfortable. Your foot hurt, your back hurt, nose and spirit, inside joke. But that's the truth, You're out here in the elements, you're out here on this concrete, you're battling, anybody can come up talking shit, crazy.
Right.
A car could roll up on the sidewalk, shots could ring out, all kind of crazy shit can happen.
Yes, sir.
There's no set rule in the scripture that it says that, if once you do 20 years, you can retire, you don't got to be on the street. Right. But did Yahweh Shai said, blessed is that servant, the Lord when he cometh, so find it so good. Doing what? Doing the work out here on the streets.
Verse 10, for we are his workmanship, created in the Mashiach Yahweh Shai unto good works, which the Most High hath before ordained that we should walk in them.
That we are his workmanship, meaning that basically the Lord is he's working on us. Each individual brother is a part of the project, the governing body, craft.
If I could add, because even like something I kind of taken out, I like watching people paint, and Lord willing, get my pockets right. That might be something I get into myself, but when you look like actual painting, like canvas painting.
Okay, yeah.
Like actual canvas painting.
You do, man, because brother I was talking all the time. I'm along the bar, he does that. And I had him do a lot of portraits for me and stuff, but he's up there, I'm down here. So.
I know it's a brother in Chicago too that get down also. Okay. But when you look at that process, like you got to prime the canvas first, and there's a whole process before you get that final product. It doesn't look necessarily that good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like what the hell is going on here? But then the final product, you're like, oh shit, I see it all. It all came together.
It's a sketch.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you got to sketch it out first.
Right.
So it's almost like stick figure. It's kind of like not, like you got smudges here and there.
Yeah.
When you finish it, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks messy at first.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where the Lord has us. We're in this messy predicament, but we're still striving. You see? And then once upon Yahweh Shah's return, we'll become that final and finished product for everybody to see. As it says in Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. They pretty much the people that scoffed and mocked are going to behold the men of the Lord, man.
I got
just to add to you.
Yeah, I got that word workmanship here real quick. In Ephesians 2:10, Strong's G4161, it says poema, and it says that which has been made a work. It says a product i.e. fabric, thing that is made, workmanship. You know, going into your point. The scriptures liken us unto the Lord's precious jewels. You know, but precious jewels don't come out of the earth looking like precious jewels.
Right.
They come out looking like rocks, really.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
they call it diamond in the rough.
diamond in the rough.
Or a rough cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to look like a refining process to make it shine, you know, just like gold. You
Yep.
refine gold, you see that there's a purification process you have to go. Just like our faith, that the scriptures equates it. You know, you put it through a heat process to burn off all the impurities, and it'll like be this big, but then it'll come out of a small little tiny little piece of gold, but it's pure.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a refining process where you find those minerals, whatever process it has going.
Yeah, something.
This is Sirach 6, and I'm going to start at verse 26. It says, "Come unto her with thy whole heart, and keep her ways with all thy power. Search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee." Talking about the mysteries. It says, and when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go. For at the last thou shalt find her rest, and thou shalt be turned into joy. And then shall her fetters be a strong defense for thee, and her chains a robe of glory. You know, and just talking about like how that refining process. You know, when a mineral is in the earth. All right, those same things that look like dross. You know, all that stuff when it's put pressure on and it's heated up, to a certain degree, then it's taken off, and that actually becomes your royalty, man. That becomes your the gold, if you will. You know, not the dross per se, but it turns into that, and that's what this wisdom is. Right now, people see it as they don't fully see it. They look at it as, oh, y'all know all this stuff, but shoot, I still got to go to work in the morning. We still got to do this and that. But they don't know that the world is about to change. And this wisdom is going to be our glory.
And it's just like when you go to the gym for the first time, you ain't been in a while, you're out of shape, you got rolls on top of rolls,
Yeah.
You go there, you can't expect the first day to come out chiseled.
Right.
It's a process. And then you get down and dirty, you sweat, and then you go home, take a shower, you feel pretty good. So after about a month of that, 2 months, 3 months, you start seeing the results. You take that shower, you come out the shower, you start noticing you got a one pack.
Yeah, right.
Got
one little abs on it.
One ab, he's like, oh shit, it's coming in. But it takes time. So this is what the Lord is doing right now. He's finding these pure portions, like the brother was saying. He's cutting away that dross. I got one real quick. It's Malachi 3:17. And they shall be mine, saith the Lord Yahweh, and thou shalt host, in that day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Right. It says, and pretty much that's going, that's a refining process. The refining process is what takes the most. Like even in oil, you have that crude and a different, oil that's sludgy.
Yeah.
And then it has to go through the refining process before it can be used.
Yep.
That's the same thing with anything that comes out of the earth.
Yep.
Y'all got it.
Yep, we're striving to be used by Yahweh Shem Yahushua in the kingdom.
Yeah.
To be used as a part of those joint heirs, as a part of that governing body.
Right.
And what's beautiful is through the progression of prophecy, through things happening on the earth, things getting worse. All right, we know that through the Spirit, things are getting better for us. On the flip hand side of that, brothers is getting stronger.
Yep.
Brothers are seeing things clearer. And that's why I wanted to segue a little bit into that 2nd Ezra 15. Can a brother actually we grab Isaiah 46, and I want to say start at like verse 8.
I got just one more. Get there?
Yep.
This is our 2 Timothy 2:20. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified, and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, because if I may, because right now, like it says in Romans, the 8th chapter, we have in the NLT specifically, I believe it makes mention of how we have this, we have a taste of the future glory. It's been revealed in us ultimately through the Holy Spirit. This is a foretaste of the future glory, which shall be fully revealed when it is time, right? But this is enough for the elect to where we get that little taste on the tip of our tongue. We're like, ooh, I want that. But to average Jake, it's they get a little bit of, because you know the scripture talks about it. First it's sweet, and then you got to get the bitter, right? They get that bitter, and they're like, damn, they don't want to deal with that that part of it, you know.
Yeah, because just like when you know, the person that's dedicated, that embraces, you know, the pain while they're working out, they usually get the more results. You know, the more discipline and the more. See, that's why it's key understanding. You know, wisdom is a principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all I get understanding. Because understanding is the key that will glue you, that'll have you. You know, of course, you got to be elect. Moving forward, because you understand that, okay, in order for me to get salvation, I got to go through tribulation. I got to go through hell. I got to go through anguish. I got to lose things. So understanding that when it happens, you're not broadside. It ain't coming on you, you know, like out of nowhere. You're expecting it. So when it comes, you know how to embrace it and deal with it, although it's uncomfortable.
Right.
But most people out in the world, they're not thinking on that mindset.
And those, if I may, just to add, Apostle, those last and final reps are extremely crucial when it comes to, you know, growth.
Yeah.
You know, because that's essentially where your body, with those struggle reps, those last 2 or 3 reps, where most people would just re-rack the weight.
Yeah.
That's where the muscle fibers are being torn the most.
Yeah.
And that's where the most growth can happen. Because, but even outside of the gym, you got to eat right. You got to meal prep. You got to make it happen outside of the gym.
Yeah.
So that's, the gym is just one aspect of it. But to have the most optimal approach possible, you got to do all of things. Your sleep got to be on point to the best of your ability. You know. But just to add,
I got one. This is Proverbs 24:3. It says, through wisdom is an house builded, and by understanding it is established.
Now, in contrast with that, when you go to Ecclesiastes 10:18, and somebody can read that real quick, you got to read that again. But you know, Ecclesiastes 10:18, read Proverbs first, and then go back to Ecclesiastes 10:18.
God.
All right, Ecclesiastes.
I'll read this
Read that
again.
again.
Yep. This is Proverbs 24:3. It says, through wisdom is an house builded, and by understanding it is established.
Right, and then you have to maintain it. That's what the word servant goes into, like Economia in the New Testament, which means house manager. And now read that.
Ecclesiastes 10 and 18. By much slothfulness the building decayeth,
Man.
and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through.
Right.
Man.
So if you know, not only do you have to build the house, but you have to maintain it, and it takes time to maintain it. You know, you have to, put work into it. You know, you have to, when you have a home, you have to make sure the plumbing is right. You know, if you got a leak, you got to, fix the leak, and then make sure that the leak didn't get places to where it's going to start rotting and molding everything out.
Yeah.
So it's work that goes with the keep of the upkeep of a house. Same thing with this truth. There's work in the upkeep of this truth. And if you're just sitting idle, it's going to just fall apart. And that's where you see individuals slowly but surely, vanishing away because they stop taking care of the home, of the house, of the maintenance.
It's Proverbs chapter 20, verse 4. It says, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold, therefore shall he beg a harvest and have nothing. I'm pretty much going into what the apostle was going into. All right, like there's certain problems within a home if you neglect or you wait, because right now, you're doing something else or, you don't get it and address it immediately, it leads to bigger problems, Like if you don't, get the foundation addressed within a home, right, it needs to be lifted. It'll fuck up, certain plumbing. It might, fuck up, certain elements or, materials used that you can't really repair that easily. Warp wood and things like that, where you can't really fix that easily. So, being negligent, it has a lot of consequences. Also.
Yeah. Beautiful. Like you got to use this grace period. You got to use the time that the Lord gave you, man. The Lord gave us ample time, all right, to basically prep our spirits, to wrap our minds around what the Lord is getting ready to do to America and to these people, and what he's getting ready to put us through in our own lives. So if you didn't use that time, all right, like we're going into, if you didn't use that time to build up brothers, to build up yourself, to build up your spirit, then you're gonna be asked out. You're gonna be asked out, and it's gonna be a big difference. It's not gonna be, it's not gonna be like what's coming is so bad that the scriptures even say what, even you know, like military men gonna be shaking the nation right now. You know,
It should be like women.
they shall be like women.
God, may I start up, bro?
Yes, already.
God. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, and I'm going to just start at verse 10.
Yep. The reason I said 12 is because in my sword it says, on the header of verse 12, it says 2 kinds of ministry and their result. You know, kind of like what we're going into.
God. 1 Corinthians 3 and 10, it
So
says,
you got the ministry of the worker, you got the ministry of the slugger. Which one do you want?
John.
1 Corinthians 3 and 10, according to the grace of the Most High, which is given unto me as a wise master builder.
Right, there goes that grace again, right? Ephesians 2 and 9, right? By grace are ye saved through faith, right? Not of works or not of your own selves, roughly paraphrasing. This thing is completely predicated upon the Lord's favor and his mercy.
It says, I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth upon, and buildeth thereon. So like it. But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon.
Yep.
For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Hamashiach Yahushua.
Right, take heed how you build thereon, man. So you're supposed to be thinking about the process, your daily process, your building, your lot. You're supposed to be being attentive. You're not just supposed to be throwing up like we went into this last night in the Thursday live. It's not supposed to just be shiesty work. You're not just supposed to be going in just to show up and then clocking in and clocking out.
Right.
You know?
It ain't his own job.
The Lord ain't looking for benchmarks.
Done.
You know, he wants everybody to be in the game. He wants everybody to be involved in the game.
God, it says, verse 12, now if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest.
Yep. And manifest means basically to make clear, to make something like evidently clear. You know? You got it.
Right, like 2 Ezra, the 9th chapter goes into the end being made manifest with effects and signs. You know, the Lord gave forth signs that will be shown in the last days to let you know where we're at, chronologically speaking. We don't know the exact day and hour when the Lord's going to return, but we know it's close, closer than it's ever been.
Or like it says in 2 Ezra 16th chapter, then shall it be known who are my chosen. That's that being made manifest. You got it, man.
God, it says 1 Corinthians 3 and 13 again, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire.
Yep.
And the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is.
Right, the fire is going to try every man's work. Now we know the fire ultimately is going to be the nuclear fire, right? The lake of fire, which is the destruction of America. All right, but we know that before that even takes place, the Lord has a series of plagues that are getting ready to hit this place. You know, and really the whole planet Earth. As you can see with this situation in the Middle East,
Right.
It's a global economy that makes everything run and makes everything operate. So this war that's getting ready to take place is getting ready to hit the whole entire planet Earth with plagues to a certain extent.
Which is going to bring about that fire, which is the tribulation.
John.
Like Yahweh said, you know, because you have kept the word in my patience, I also will keep you from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the face of the earth. So pretty much, you know, that's you know the part of that trial. You know, that being baptized with the Holy Spirit and with fire.
You want that right now?
Yeah, we'll read it right now just to go into what he's saying.
Second Ezra 15 and 5, it says, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world.
Right.
The sword, famine, death, and destruction.
Right, the sword, right? Famine, pestilence, death, and destruction, man. All right, so fire in the form of great miseries, that's what we're prophesying. That's what we're proclaiming. You know, like when we started off that 2 Ezra 15, it says, speak thou unto my people the words of prophecy. Well, these are the words of prophecy.
Right.
All right? And that should put fear in you. That should light a fire under your ass, all right, to basically start building.
Yep.
You know, like when you read Hebrews 11, and I might as well get it right? Because it talks about how Noah,
Yeah, I was just thinking.
through fear and through faith, built the ark.
Imagine if Noah would have waited till the last minute to start building the ark. When the drops start coming, then you start building the ark.
Now they plank the wood.
Done. Finished. Cooked.
Hebrews 11:7. By faith, Noah, being warned of the Most High of things not seen as yet.
Right, being warned of things not seen as yet, which is what we're doing. All right, the destruction that we're talking about has not been seen as yet, the same way that the flood during that time, rain hadn't been seen as yet,
Right. Yeah.
so to speak. You know,
And that's why the scriptures say walk by faith and not by sight. Because just as Noah had the foreseeing of what was going to take place, because the Lord told him it, and he just prophesied it, it's the same concept with us. You know, we know it's going to come to pass, and now we're starting to really receive the fruits of those labors, because now everything that was said, starting with the apostles on down, is starting to come to pass. We're seeing it now. World War III is knocking at the door right now, and as y'all said, and as the scriptures goes, and how fast these things are going to happen, what just took place between Iran and Israel, that was suddenly, man.
yeah.
You know, it was like, I believe the first day, it was the, what did it start on, like the 9th or something like that, or the 8th?
This month?
Yeah, this month pretty much, but it was suddenly. You know what I'm saying? And immediately the next day, everybody talking about World War III, bombs flying and stuff like that. So, and then we see an example again in 2020 when it came to the stabbing jab. In the pandemic, all that stuff was suddenly.
Operation Warp Speed.
Operation Warp Speed, exactly. You know, so we've seen glimpses within our lifetime of how fast chaos can actually hit. You know?
As that quote goes, there's decades where nothing happens, and then there's weeks where decades happen.
Right, that's right.
We're in those weeks right now where decades are happening.
Absolutely.
And that's being magnified. That's been magnified through this system that Esau has set up, which is based on what? Convenience and instant gratification. Guess what? There's a downside to instant gratification, man. There's a downside to convenience, and that's what you people are getting ready to find out. This global supply chain and this system, the way that it works, is extremely vulnerable. It's extremely fragile. You know, so like the brother's going into, what's happening right now will affect you. It is affecting you already. You know?
Yeah, and it's going to keep affecting.
Yep.
The longer this war goes on right now, the higher the prices of the gas go up. And you got to understand, this is just the first wave
Yep.
of it. You know, Iran, they're saying Iran saying they didn't do certain things. They say they, you know, but all of the destruction of all of these different energy sources is going to cause a big ripple effect around the world.
Right.
They're not going to be able to just fix that overnight.
No, it's going to take months, years.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, with the oil issue going on, it's going to affect the food. It's going to affect the water. It's going to affect everything, because everything runs off oil.
Yep. Energy.
Energy.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Well, I was just gonna say. Okay, well, I was just gonna say, once that domino falls, it's hard to get the dominoes to stop falling, man. You know, there's certain injuries you just can't come back from. You know, you break a bone or
Achilles,
something,
torn
it'll never be the same.
And it's a lot quicker for destruction to happen versus healing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You can tear your Achilles, that pop happens just like that. But that rebuilding of it is a process of time. You know, just another example.
Ask Kyrie.
Well, that's why the scriptures goes into Babylon, you know, take balm for her pain. You know what I'm saying? We would have healed her, but it's been too much that's been done. You know?
I got something real quick. This is the book of 2nd Ezra. I'll start at 2nd Ezra 14 and 16. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. Look how much the world shall be weaker through age. So much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. And I got one more, 2nd Ezra 16 and 18. The beginning of sorrow and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. So again in Luke 21. The beginning of evil. What shall I do when these evils shall come? So pretty much, you know, this is just, you know, like Yahweh says, it's in the beginning of sorrow, right? Something along those lines. So it's just going to keep increasing. The closer we get to the end, the more it's going to increase. The closer a woman gets to having a baby, the more intense the birth comes out. So we're experiencing that because this bitch is in her 9th month. America. ready to go. And it just so happens that this happens to be the 250th year, you know, of this empire. You know? So yeah, man.
Jeremiah 51. Real quick. We're going to go into that point that you made about Babylon not being healed. You know, because the scriptures actually say that. I want to say in Jeremiah 51 and 8, you know, for any individuals that still got it in their mind that this place is going to bounce back. You know, if DJ Trump did not wake you up to the fact that this place will never be healed, this place will never be brought back to any type of prosperity, all right, it's just not going to happen. All right, it was, matter of fact, really what they're doing is intentional.
Yeah.
You know, like when you go into the word Babylon, right, Babal, which means confusion by mixture, all right, there's a reason why you're confused. It's not a mistake why you're confused. You know, they're intentionally trying to destroy your ass.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when you go back to the John Todd Confessions, I know y'all heard of John Todd. He pretty much said that, because he was on the Council of 13, top 13, which is, you know, that the International Bankers Consultant. And he said that the international bankers want to, how do you put it? They want to destroy the economies of the world and still be financially stable to withstand it. You know, and this is why they mounted, you know, they increased their goods or their wealth so much, so that when the whole world collapses, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna feel the brunt of it, but they're gonna be able to withstand it, so that they can introduce the new world order, the new world currency, which we know now. You know, well, we knew already for a while, but we know and fully understand that one world currency is going to come by following MOTB, micro-CD. Y'all got it. Yeah, without a care.
That's on verse 7, just for context. Jeremiah 51 and 7, it says, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Right, and gold is desirable. You know, gold is desirable. You know, you got to imagine you at a feast. All right, you sitting around a round table and somebody whip out a golden cup. Everybody wants to partake in that cup. So when you read the scriptures let you know that all the other nations, right, Moab, Ishmael, what is that, Psalms 83, you know, where it lists the nations that are connected to Edom. They've all drank the wine. They've all took the cup, you know. And they gonna get it right with Esau. They gonna get destroyed right with Esau, man. And a lot of these other nations are already feeling it. Like China, for example. China's population is all the way jacked up. You know, their people are jumping off of fucking, you know, skyscrapers, right? They gotta put nets. I don't know if y'all seen like at like the Apple factories and certain workplaces in China, they gotta put nets around to catch people because so many people are committing suicide at a high clip.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
they're working the hell out of Moab over there, bro.
Yep.
That, man, wash pot, oh boy.
Yep.
Man, Lord admit that.
Yep.
Because they work overtime, so I think they still, of course, they in league with the U.S., but they got a lot of legal sweatshops and so forth. Bro, you know, bros got Amazon. You know.
They men can't find any women. Like the one world, like the one child policy, they're seeing the impact of that.
Yeah.
Right? So like all the disgruntled men that we see on the internet here in America, China got it even way worse than this.
Yeah, you talking about over a billion people. And then let's say that one child, let's say like a million families have sons. Where the girls are.
Right.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, if I may, that's beautiful imagery, the way you made mention of how if you're at a dinner table setting and somebody pulls out a golden cup, everybody's going to want to drink of it. But what's inside that cup? We're dealing with America, Babylon the Great. It's wickedness, abomination, all of the sort, man. Filthiness, nastiness, freakism. All right.
Yep.
Like it says, well, it also makes me think of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. You know, woe to him that gives his neighbor drink and makes him drink thereof. You know, that's what he's done. He's forced the nations, like even though, what is it, the original pact or the OPEC, all the OPEC nations, which is the Organization of Petroleum and basically the nations that deal with oil and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They answer to America. America basically originally it was like, okay, when you supply us with oil, we're gonna have what's called the petrodollar, and we'll protect you if any nation tries to come up against you. But now we're seeing America's walking back with it's agreement, like it always does. Of course, you know. So this is part of why the nations are mad. This is part of why the nations are ultimately exactly resources. You know?
I got that for you.
Okay. If I may, just as a quick footnote, the last time the Strait of Hormuz was closed down was 80 years ago, pretty much when the petrodollar was made the world currency, pretty much. So, you know, ironically enough, 80 years later, as there's a currency from that to digitalize, you see a change within that. But again, it's always tied within that oil in some way, form, or fashion. You know?
I got that.
That's the same reason why the other nations are turning is because they found out that Israel attacks all those Middle Eastern countries. All right, but they're blaming it on Iran. All right, but it came from like the West the attacks came from the West. So that's Israel. If it was Iran, it would have came from the East. All right. So and America didn't want to do anything about that. You know, because it's like, shit, that was my little nigga. Damn. You know. And now all the other nations are like, nah, take all your bases out this bitch.
Yeah, because America's basically Israel's bitch, man. Yeah. You know. Yeah, like bro, how much is the U.S. spending? $2 billion a day, I believe, in this current war.
Pretty much it's something along the lines because they're trying to pretty much get 200 billion, trying to get Congress to approve 200 billion toward their sword. Pete Hegseth was saying that right now. Yeah. You know, and pretty much when Pete Hegseth talked about that 200 billion they're trying to get, he pretty much said it would actually be more than feasible enough to kill the bad guys. You know, but it's like, damn.
Money to kill bad guys.
These guys say it costs money to kill bad guys. And that just goes to show you how much of a devil they actually are because he ain't saying nothing about saving lives, which we know they're not doing that anyway. You know?
And just to add on to your point, it's like the eagle that was on the backs of dollars. For years, it's been faced towards the palms
for peace.
For peace. Now it's to the arrows.
The arrows.
Department of War.
There you go.
Department of War.
There you go.
But you got it.
I got a quick definition of synopsis of OPEC, real quick, because this is really bread and butter. Like when we go into Job 9:24, right? For the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, you know, the fatness of the earth too. Not Job 9:24 is a part of it, but Genesis 27, right. All right, where it talks about the fatness of the earth. Lexicon. You know, when you go into that word fatness, it goes into oil. You know. Literally. But this is the definition, so to speak, of OPEC. It says OPEC, all right, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries is a coalition of oil-producing nations that coordinate petroleum policies to influence global oil supply and prices.
And just like every other, like NATO, the EU, America's at the head of that, man. Of course. You know,
yep, because when you go into the nations, it says founding members: Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. And we see what Egypt did with Venezuela.
I was just about to say that. Look what they're trying to do with Iran right now.
Right.
You know, Iraq. You saw what they did with Iraq, you know?
10 years ago.
Yeah, no, 20.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he is basically he's trying to maximize on the time that he has left.
Right.
You know, like the Greater Israel Project. You know, when you go into the Greater Israel Project, they're basically drawing on Genesis 15 and 18 when the Lord told Abraham he would give him from the Nile to the Euphrates. You know, so they being the imposters that they are, they're trying to actually forward this on the earth.
And if I may, even them operating off of the Talmud too. Because they claim to believe in the Torah, but what they do, like, bro, when I know brothers be sending like little pictures and stuff like that in the chat, going into particular verses in the Talmud, bro, they're pretty much relentless and unmerciful. Like you could kill a goyim, and you don't have to be held accountable for it as being a J-double-O.
Right.
You know, all like, bro, that's at the forefront of why they're how they're moving the way that they're moving, man.
Well, that's why they walk with a sense of entitlement that they have. You know, it's second nature to them to always virtue signal and call somebody an anti-Semite and stuff like that based on something that they don't agree with. You know, they've had that entitlement for the longest because that's how they've been indoctrinated. They also read from the Kabbalah as well.
Yeah.
You know, they read from the Talmud and the Kabbalah, which is literally a book of witchcraft right here. You know, so they're complete demons. You know, but you know what though? They're following the ways of Canaan. Because just as the Canaanites occupied that land and was doing wickedness, you know, they adopted that wickedness and they're doing it right now. That's why you read it in books like Luke 21 where it says, you know, Jerusalem we trodden down underfoot by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles would actually be fulfilled. You know, so the scriptures also says that they've been given bounds that they can't pass. So the Heavenly Father put them in a position where they can do so much wickedness there until the time is up. All right, and it's not even just there. Of course, you know, that's the end-all be-all because we're going back to that land. But the Lord gave Esau this earth for a set period of time until it's time to give it back.
Yep.
You know?
Well, beautiful. I was thinking about that scripture in my mind because what Esau is trying to accomplish, like you can't in the amount of time we know that the Lord he has hardly any time left. The shot clock is about to go off. All right, so here it is, Esau, you down by 100 points, and there's 2 seconds left on the clock. Ain't no amount of Hail Marys gonna get you back in the game, man. You down too much.
Con, I'll read verse 7 again here in Jeremiah 51, and we'll close out in verse 8. Jeremiah 51 and 7, it says, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Nations are mad, man. Nations are completely bugged out.
Yeah, there you go.
And a large and behind the scenes, all right, a lot of these nations are they bought into the NWO. So what we see happening right now is them getting closer and closer to fulfilling that agenda and pushing forth the MOTB. You know?
Well, the scripture says even the nations are still going to lament and howl when Babylon's fallen. Even though they're going to be the ones doing it, but it's not going to be the same. In their minds, that's why they're going to howl. But little do they know, that's going to be their demise pretty much.
Yeah.
Because that's when Yahweh Shai comes back anyway.
Yeah. And you know, you gotta understand that there's no other nation on the planet built like this to do all type of business like America.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
China's trying to build that infrastructure, but America already got it. That's why the nations of the world became rich.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jeremiah 51 and 8, it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed.
Right. So this place is going to be destroyed, man. It's going to be destroyed, and it's not going to be healed. You know, there's no healing coming to America. All right, because again, these people, really, there's nothing left.
Right.
The foundation of a nation is really the end of the people. The people within the nation. And look at these people out here.
That's right.
They're completely zombies. You know?
Yeah, and that's, if I may, that's beautiful how it's worded because even ancient Babylon, even though it didn't return within its same power, but that landmass is still there. People occupy it.
Yeah.
You know, the Roman Empire had its time to rule the world. You know, it ain't no more. It is in a sense to America, but over there in Vatican City, that ain't a ruler. You know what I'm saying? So this is one of the only kingdoms, minus Sodom and Gomorrah, that are going to completely be decimated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There ain't no healing coming back from this. You know?
Yeah. And it speaks about Egypt being the whole land, you know, America, Babylon, the whole land being desolate.
That's right.
You know, Edom and Egypt being destroyed. Those are all symbolic things for America.
Hey, well, Lord's willing, this camp was edifying. With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Akakodash. Double honors again to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, teach well, taught us this truth. And shalom to the next lesson.
Shalom.
Hit the button.